We now have Richard Watson from Energise, Sussex Coast.
Hello everybody. Everything I say is going to be unrelentingly positive. But I am going to take issue with one statement. Somebody said that Eastbourne is the sunniest town in Britain. You see, in Hastings we make the same claim. I will admit that our Hastings sunshine is slightly different. It's a bit more maverick. It's a bit more melancholic. It's a bit madder, because our photons like to dress up as pirates. And in fact, they like to dress up as anything. And party. Right, so I'm going to talk about 4 different co-ops I helped set up. But I'm mainly going to talk about the school's energy co-op and Energise South. And I think Kayla and Chris gave you a sense of co-ops, but can I just ask, hands up anybody who has invested in an energy cooperative? Ooh, there's more than one. It's about 6 people. So your investments can start as little as £50, up to 100,000, and you get a 3, 4 or 5% return over 20 or 25 years. It's a really good investment. I don't think any co-ops have failed. And you'd be surprised to know that there's a projection that in Europe by 2050, 40% of all the energy generated will be by citizen energy communities. So what they mean by that is not just community cooperatives, but local authorities, businesses, householders that generate their own energy. And that's not trivial. About 280 million people, they project, will be involved in that. So we're less advanced in the UK. About 1% of the energy, renewable energy generated is by cooperatives. But as you've seen, we can expand on that. So we have 2 schools we put solar on in Eastbourne. And I'll show you the details in a minute. And what else can I say? So co-ops find it very easy to raise money. So we're basically funders and installers of renewable energy for anybody, churches, schools, businesses. And I'll give you a good example in a moment of how much money we can potentially save. So I helped find a school in Bexhill down the road called Glenley Park Academy. Very, very fortunately, the head teacher was a physicist, very excited when we said we could put solar on their roof. So we put solar on Glenley and 2 schools in Eastbourne, and that launched the school's energy co-op. So in the last few years, the school's energy co-op has installed solar on 100 schools, also a theatre studio and a hospice, and they have a pipeline of about 80 projects. And one of those projects, oh, there we go. Yeah, if you stay on that one, Joel. One of those projects, as you can see there, is Salisbury Cathedral. Now, you may not have realized this, but it happens to be a grade 1 star listed building. So it's lucky you can't see the panels unless you're a pigeon. But they were so happy that they invested £25,000 into the co-op. And to give you an idea of the benefits to schools, if you just look at that figure, because these case studies were done before the latest energy crisis, showing the school will save $268,000 over 20 years. We're already 8 years into that. So in 12 years' time, they'll be gifted the panels for free. But that was when we were selling electricity at 8 pence, and they were getting it from the grid at 14 pence. They're now paying 35 pence. So they'll save 3 times that, getting on for $250,000. And the back-end work of these co-ops is done by a group of co-ops called Energy for All, who started with the Baywind co-op in Cumbria in the 1980s. There's now about 32 co-ops who are like us members. and they have 17,000 member investors, like the few people here who invest. Energy for All manages about 35 megawatts of solar and has raised about 80 million. So when a hydropower plant in Scotland wanted to raise £1 million, they did it in a week. When a solar farm in Hampshire wanted £500,000, they did it in 48 hours. When we did it in Hastings, it took us 2.5 months to raise about £500,000. So next slide, George. So here are the schools in Eastbourne. We have a solar, thank you. We have a solar license, not a lease. That's important. We have a 3-way license that can allow local authorities as landlords or other landlords and tenants to be part of the agreement. It lasts for 20 or 25 years. The schools can buy out of the license if they want to take over the asset. We say something like, if we have to take the panels off and put them back so you can fix the roof, if there's a loss of income, you have to compensate us, but we've never actually done that. So in the case of Heron Park, we had to take the solar panels off and put them back, and we didn't charge them. So any profits, the directors of these co-ops are all volunteers. Any net surplus profits we make go back to the schools. In the case of Energise South, they go to tackle fuel poverty. What else was I going to say? Okay, next one. Thanks, Jill. So this is Energise South. So we're still talking about feed-in tariff projects here where we can sell the electricity to the site at 8 pence. So these are quite big sites. The Innovation Centre, I think we found it was doing well over 100% of its projected solar. So whatever the photons were doing there, they were certainly busy. We had a different kind of problem. A whole chunk during lockdown of St Leonard's Academy stopped working. You know, pigeons and seagulls did what they do, broke a couple of panels, and the inverters had crashed, and so we had to turn off a quarter of the system for about 6 months. Even so, it's still producing 96% of its projected amount. So again, if you look at that price, it's saving 490,000. It's going to be 3 times that. Next one, Chair, please. So that's the offer. We can put solar on any building. We did a costing for the Towner Gallery, but luckily they had their own money, so they've gone ahead and done it, I believe. Is Neem here from the Towner? Have they done it? How's it going? Oh, okay. Okay. Fantastic, okay. So to be honest, to us it doesn't matter who does it. Well, within reason. So we'd love to do the hospitals, and in fact, we talked to the NHS board, and they said, we're supposed to get some government money, and we're going to upgrade Bexhill, Eastbourne, and Hastings hospitals soon anyway, so wait till we've done that. Next slide, please. And that's it, really. The example I was going to give you of a good, so yeah, let me go back a step. Energise South set up in 2019, raised money for 16 arrays on 8 buildings in Hastings, 5 schools, a church, hall, a charity, and the Innovation Centre. We have a long list of projects which we'd like to do now. We're talking to a leisure centre and a council about trying to reopen a pool that was recently closed. The leisure centre company has 19 pools. Imagine the consequences of closing 19 swimming pools for local health and well-being. So this pool is paying 92 pence per kilowatt hour for electricity and 14 pence for gas. It's using about 500,000 kilowatt hours a year. We found, when we costed it, we said, look, we pay for everything. You don't even have to pay for the roof survey, planning, all the costs for 25 years covered by us. When we modeled less than 50 kilowatts for them, they were going to save 1.9 million over 25 years. So just for a little bit of solar. So we're now looking at the possibility of heat pumps to reduce their heating costs. Yes, and so all the money from Energise South, the surplus profit, goes to support Kate here, who you can meet in Eastbourne weekly. She's at an energy advice desk at the food bank. So Kate and her team of advisors, and we're now talking about Energise Sussex Coast. I'm trying not to confuse you about all these different co-ops. Kate has raised or helped 850 households in the last year save £560,000. That's in partnership with a benefits charity called Hark. And about 35% of those are in Eastbourne, and about 38% in Hastings, and the rest in Rotherham, some in Weald, and some in Brighton. So Kate has also managed to get a grant, which will allow us to recruit and train retrofit coordinators and help new community energy groups start up and do exactly what we've been doing. So ideally that will happen in Eastbourne. Some groups like Horsham are asking us at Energise South to do their solar projects, because if you set up as a co-op, you've got to be prepared to take people's money and look after it for 25 years. And when we started tackling fuel poverty 10 years ago, and we said, well, let's start raising shares for community solar because we can fund the fuel poverty work, people said to us, no, you'll confuse your investors. Just do the one thing. Generate energy, give them back their 3, 4, or 5%. So that's the only difference between us and a commercial company that does similar things. You know, we do it at lower margins, so we need a return on investment of, you know, minimum of 6%, so we can pay our investors 3, 4, or 5% and have a bit of leeway for a community fund. So that's how the model works. If anybody has any questions about community solar and community projects, then we'll be on the panel later. Thank you.
Thank you very much there to Richard. We'll let him have these energetic photons, but we're going to hang on to the sunniest spot in the country. Thank you.